You're listening to the Ranger Football Podcast, brought to you by Southern Trading and Pawn and the Slab in Roland.
Good Tuesday afternoon, Ranger football fans, and welcome back again. Episode number 8. I don't know how many weeks it's been. I guess maybe 7 weeks. I've done 8 episodes. We've done 8 episodes of the Ranger Football Podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 5th, 2017. That means 5 days until my birthday. We've got about 3 days left until the Roland Ranger home opener. We're going to talk about all that coming up. We're going to talk about the game in Spyro, all the things that went down this past week when the Rangers picked up their very first win of the season on the road. As always, we are live on Spreaker.com. If it's 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, the Ranger Football Podcast is probably going to be live. You can catch us anytime, any place, anywhere. You can subscribe to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Stitcher Radio, and iHeartRadio. All you have to do is search for Ranger Football Podcast. Just type that into any search bar in your listening apps. Also, if you have an Android device, Google Play. You guys know I remind everybody about this every episode. It's important that we do that. I've noticed that our downloads are going up. We've got more people downloading these apps. We have the Ranger Football Podcast app for Google Play on all Android devices. That's sponsored by Southern Trading and Pawn, located at 4621 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith. It's right at the corner of Towson and Phoenix. And Roland alumni and friend of mine, Vernon McNabb III. You can find him out there at Southern Trading and Pawn. Just, if you've got stuff you need to take in there, if you need to trade it or pawn it or sell it or whatever you want to do, just go take it to Vernon and he'll work up a deal for you. If you have any questions, call 479-434-4830. I did notice a big sign out in front of Southern Trading and Pawn a couple of days ago when I went by there, and it had, I can't remember the exact prices, so I don't want to do any damage to these guys, but I did notice that they have some deals going on. I remember looking over out the window and thinking, wow. I mean, they've got PlayStation 4s. If you're old school like me, well, I say old school, I still like the PlayStation 3 because there's a lot of stuff on there that I have on the PlayStation Network. I can just go in there and download stuff. So if you're in the market for a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4, I don't know if they have any Xbox Ones in. I don't know if they have any 360s. I don't know. But call them, 479-434-4830. Or you can just stop by at corner of Towson and Phoenix, 4621 Towson Avenue. That's where you can find Southern Trading and Pawn. But I do know they have some great deals on PlayStations, and I'm a PlayStation guy. Also, we have an app on iTunes. If you have an Apple device, like an iPhone, something like that, or a Wii Pod, get on your App Store, your Apple App Store, type in Ranger Football Podcast. Or if you have the podcast app for iTunes on your iPhone there, you can just type in Ranger Football Podcast in the podcast section, and you can find us there. That app for Apple is sponsored by the Slab in Roland. That's located at 104 South Roland Road. I was going to say 401, but I'm trying to read backwards. It's 104 South Roland Road. Everybody knows that's the old McKinney Grocery Building. The Slab is your home for the best barbecue in the River Valley. They're open 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. The Slab trailer is also open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. And catering is available by request. For more information, or if you have questions, or if you want to place your orders, call 918-503-6531. Now I want to touch on something real quick. I've gotten a lot of messages from people asking, hey, where can we find the broadcast from the game last Friday night? If you haven't caught this information, we did broadcast live on Friday night from Spyro on InsideFortSmith.com and Arklahoma Sports. Dennis McCaslin. I talked about Dennis on the last show last week. Dennis McCaslin and I, we used to run around together with TCW Wrestling. We did a lot of events with them. And as a lot of you know, he worked with Fort Smith Radio Group for about 22 years. And then, of course, after we rolled around with TCW, I went on to promote MMA with Extreme Fighting Inc., everybody's favorite, and did a podcast for them for several years. And now here we are on the Ranger Football Podcast. But Dennis and I, we jumped on in Spyro. Man, it was a madhouse. That press box was packed. Everybody and their mother was in there, literally. We were having to move out of the way for little tiny kids coming in there constantly. But a lot of people have been saying, where can we find this broadcast? Can we get the game? Can you put this on a CD for? I can. I do have that capability, people. If you want these games that are being broadcast, if you want them on a CD. Now, I know some of these parents out here. I can almost guarantee Kim Castleberry, if she's listening right now, she's probably going to want these games that are being broadcast. She's going to want to listen to her son, Julius Plummer, number 13. We're going to talk about him here in just a few minutes. Everybody knows that name. Boy, he lit it up on Friday in Spiral. We'll talk about that. But I can guarantee you parents like that are going to want a CD of these games being broadcast, and I can put any of them on there. Now, last Friday's game was a little impromptu. The broadcast was we had basically no planning, and I hate to say we had no planning, but we really didn't. We kind of knew that we were going to broadcast, but I talked to Dennis on the way to Spyro, and one thing led to another. We were supposed to have some new equipment and things like that, and we weren't able to get that before we went to broadcast, but we made do with what we've got. So I don't know if we have that file for the Spyro game. I know we had a ton of people listening live on InsideFortSmith.com. There was a ton of people. We even had people commenting live. We broadcast through the Mixler platform, and people were on that website. They were listening to the game. And my parents were even listening live. My dad wanted to know. Of course, my dad, everybody knows, he's got a grandson playing Roland High School football. So, they kind of wanted to keep up with their grandson, see how he was doing. And they were able to do that. Anybody can do it. My parents live in Tulsa now. They were able to click a link on Facebook, and boom, they were listening to the game live in Spyro. Anybody can do that. So we do that on InsideFortSmith.com. For those of you who don't know, a lot of you do, but if you don't, that's where you see on Facebook all the Fort Smith mugshots, all the Sebastian County. It's everywhere. I see a lot of people sharing those on Facebook. And also Arklahoma Sports is closely associated with Inside Fort Smith. Dennis McCaslin runs all this stuff. And he does a great job at it. So also what I wanted to throw out there is that here's how packed it's already going to be for the game on Friday night. There is no room for us in the press box to broadcast this game. Now, some people would think that's a bad thing. But let me tell you something. That's not a bad thing at all. We've got 2 radio stations coming to this game. We've got a radio station from Tahlequah, who's coming out to broadcast this game. We also have one from Fort Smith. I can't remember which one it is. I really don't feel like advertising for them because we do our own thing. But we do have a couple of radio stations. I don't know if they have apps or websites where you can listen to this stuff. I don't know. You may have to have an actual radio with you where you can tune in to that particular station. With us, with Inside Fort Smith, Clint Davis and Dennis McCaslin, you don't have to have a radio with you. You can go to the Facebook page of Inside Fort Smith. If you're on Facebook, type in Inside Fort Smith, go to that page. There will be a link that you can click on. You can pop your earbuds in with your smartphones up in the bleachers, and you can listen to the broadcast of the game. Now, we're going to do everything we can to try to fix last week's small snafus. We didn't have we didn't have pre-recorded commercials for our sponsors. I think Dennis is working on that this week. It's only Tuesday, so we've got time left. You guys know yesterday was a holiday. It was Labor Day. I was trying to get some things done for the podcast and really wasn't able to because there were a lot of people. The kids had football practice, And we're still working on getting Eli Dalton. I shot Jacob Cantrell. If you're listening, Jacob, I shot you a message on Facebook. You may not be able to see it because we're not friends, so you may have to go to your hidden what is that thing? Does anybody know what I'm talking about? That hidden inbox on Facebook. Why do they do that? Like if somebody shoots you a message, it doesn't go to your inbox where you can see it. It goes to some strange, far-off inbox, and you don't even know it's there until about 6 months later, and then you hit the wrong button on your messenger, and then you click on it, and you see that somebody messaged you. And then it gets into – I've had that problem so many times. I've had to click on those messages, and I'm like, man, I am so sorry that I completely missed this. And somebody had a completely simple question for me. So, like I said, Jacob, if you're listening, I did shoot you a message. Jacob, we're going to talk about Jacob too. Jacob seems to have a nose for the football. I don't know I think he's wearing a pigskin magnet somewhere in that jersey of his, because it seems like every time Spyro kicked the ball off, it went straight to Jacob Cantrell. It seemed like every time the ball was up in the air, loose ball, fumble, bad pass, something, Jacob Cantrell was on the scene of the accident. And so we'll talk about some stats like that here in just a second, but I want to kind of try to get Jacob on here one of these days, along with quarterback Eli Dalton. I've been talking to Eli's parents a little bit. We're going to try to get him on the show and talk to him and kind of get into the mind of the quarterback. Also, I want to remind you guys that the Ranger Football Podcast is also sponsored by Man Tees Casual Wear, focused on the adolescent male of all ages. And here it comes. And by Mayrays for casual wear with a more feminine touch. That one's for the ladies. Custom orders are welcome. You can follow either line on Facebook or simply go to man-tees.com. Always remember you can use the promo code RANGERS for 20% off your orders. Also, the Center Street Parlor, that's who we're also brought to you by, located at 1731 West Center Street in Greenwood, Arkansas. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to whenever they finish. For more information or to schedule an appointment for your next tattoo, call Fernie or Isaac at 479-252-6274. So that knocks our sponsors out of the way. Those are the people who take care of us. Those are the people who make every bit of this happen. And so we want to thank them. Also, I know I have kind of beat a dead horse already with Inside Fort Smith, but they are really, really putting things together. As you guys know, this is something else that we talked about on the last show. I wanted to, from the beginning of the season, actually since last year, I wanted to get Ranger football back on the radio, and I have talked to different radio stations to see about getting us back on the radio. But my gosh, it is so expensive. I mean, it's so expensive. I don't even want to tell you what it costs per game to get back on the radio, but. Somewhere, I don't even know really what happened, but somewhere Dennis McCaslin came swooping back into my life here, and we talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, about a week and a half ago, I guess now, and we decided that we were going to do this broadcast on Inside Fort Smith. Now, these other two radio stations that I mentioned, they're just coming in for a game of the week, okay? So I don't want people to get too excited about the radio stations. You may want to – I don't know if you're going to set your dial to one of those, but let's face it. We all know we have our radio station set up for 94.5. We all listen to the Fort. Jessica's one of my friends, and but the Fort's not going to be out there for that. So I don't know what radio station's doing this, but they're only coming out for a game of the week. This is a one-week deal. It's a special kind of thing. So they're going to be broadcast on the radio. However, myself, Dennis McCaslin, Inside Fort Smith, Arklahoma Sports, we will be at every Ranger football game every single week of the season. And, I mean, I'm counting on playoff games. I don't know about the rest of you. I don't care what record we had last year. I don't care what we did in our first game of this season. We have already put an excellent win on the board for this year. Anybody knows, anytime you walk into Spyro and come out with a win, that my dad described it as an act of God, and it really is. It is so tough. Like, here's the deal. I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I made a few references to it on the broadcast the other night. What I was waiting for was for the referees in Spyro the other night to take off their striped shirts and put on aprons because that's how the home cooking was going. It was like the home cooking channel with those referees. And I'll talk about one play in particular here in just a little bit. But there were a lot of things, man, I was disappointed to see out of referees. But, you know, when you go to Spyro, you don't expect anything less than that. So for the Rangers to go in and to keep control of the football, we did have one turnover. We'll talk about some other turnovers here in just a second. But, you know, looking back at the Shakota game from week 1, we seriously cut down on our turnovers. And if you remember last week on the show, that's one thing I said, that I know Coach Strine and his coaching staff, they're going to be harping on that stuff all week. Ball security. All week they're going to be on that. And we did commit one turnover. But, man, did we win the turnover battle. So what I want to do is I want to turn over to we got this posted on the Ranger Football Podcast Facebook page on Saturday morning. And I think we ended up having a pretty good turnout. There were a bunch of people who got on there and were able to tag some of the people who were in this. And one name that I don't think is – well, no, I don't want to say that. I want to go ahead and go through this. I want to go ahead and read it. This is written by Mark Lane. He's works with the Times Record. And Mark and I sat next to each other in the press box at the Spyro game. And so he fed me some stats all night, and then he wrote up this piece, and now we've got it in the newspaper. So live from Spyro, the Rolling Rangers scored 16 unanswered points to erase a 10-point fourth-quarter deficit to defeat Spyro 34-28. Now, if you missed the game, if you did not hear the broadcast, if you weren't there live, that's pretty much how this thing ended. 16 unanswered points is what Roland scored. I'm telling you, if you weren't there, you wish you were. I mean, this was probably the best game to get to our first broadcast for. It was a nail-biter all the way up until about a minute and 2 seconds left in the game. 16 unanswered points. We erased a 10-point fourth-quarter deficit. We beat Spyro 34-28. Junior defensive end Josh Strassel, he was there to pick up a Spyro fumble. They fumbled, I think, I don't remember what yard line they were on, but he picked it up about 22 yards, and that was the go-ahead play with about 3:27 left at the end of the game there. The two-point conversion was a pass from Eli Dalton to Julius Plummer, and that's what gave us the 34-28 lead, and Spyro would never see the end zone again. Eli Dalton completed 5 for 9 on his passing, 80 yards, and 2 touchdowns along with 8 rushes for about 14 yards. So Eli didn't pick up too many yards on the ground, but that's okay because the defense more than made up for anything that we might not have accomplished on offense. The defense most definitely made up for that. Going down further here, the turnaround for Roland began when on 1st and goal from the 12-yard line, Spyro fumbled, and Roland's Jacob Cantrell snatched the loose ball out of the air for a 73-yard touchdown return with 7:02 to play. Eli Dalton rushed the extra point in, or the conversion. He rushed that in, which cut the Spyro lead 28-26. The Rangers were only down by 2 at that point. Spyro quarterback Deontay Braggs, he threw for 247 yards and 2 touchdowns. He completed 10 of 19 on his passing. He also rushed. I don't think we got the actual yards here, but he had 14 carries. Bulldogs receiver Mekhi Roberson. Everybody remembers hearing that name. I think he had 4 catches for 113 yards. The way the game started out was Spyro went up 6-0 with 3:25 in the first quarter. We didn't see scoring for several minutes, and then all of a sudden here it comes. The Rangers responded with a one-play drive set up by 40. How much was it? Like a 42-yard Jacob Cantrell kickoff return to the Spyro 20-yard line. L.J. Williams scored immediately to tie the game, 6-6 with 3:02 in the first quarter after a botched point after try. On the final play of the first quarter, talking about Spyro again, Braggs connected with Kwame Say. You guys heard that name. That kid could fly, too, on a 71-yard touchdown throw on 3rd and 30 from the Bulldogs' 29-yard line. At halftime, the Bulldogs outgained the Rangers 206-74. And that's something I was really worried about sitting up in that press box. I remember Mark kind of nudged me with his elbow, and he said, "You know what the yardage looks like? Do you have any stats written down?" I said, "Man, I don't have anything right now." And he said, "They have outgained you guys in yards, 206 to 74." And that's why we were down so far at the half. But you come out in the third quarter, the Rangers mounted a comeback with a 48-yard pass from Eli Dalton to Julius Plummer. That was a beautiful pass down the left side of the field. And if you guys have seen any of the replays, if you've gone to maxpreps.com, there's some video on there. There was a 48-yard pass from Eli Dalton to Julius Plummer for a touchdown, a pull within, I think, within 8 points it was? About 20-12, I think, was the score there with 11:01 in the third quarter. Then you got, I believe it was the next drive, Julius Plummer intercepted a spiral pass 2 plays into the drive, set up a 5-play drive for Roland. And that's when I believe, I don't remember if that was a horse collar tackle that we saw or a face mask, but either way, Spyro gave up 15 yards. Jackson Wells had a 15-yard touchdown catch. Eli Dalton passed that to him with 3:25 left in the third quarter. And then Braggs added a second touchdown with a 13-yard pass to Brevin Harper. You guys all remember that with 11:50 to play. And we thought, oh, my gosh, here we go. He had a 2-point pass to Sam Callahan, and that sent their lead to 28-18. Spiral was ahead. We saw Callahan limp off the field, and I don't ever remember hearing if we got a progress report on him. We still worry about the Spiral players. These guys, they're just kids. Nobody wants to see him get injured, so I'm hoping everything went okay with him. Roland rushed for 95 yards to Spiro's 73. The Bulldogs committed 13 penalties for 110 yards compared to Roland's 5 penalties for 61 yards. So now, if I'm going to predict the future again like I did last week, here's what I'm going to say. Coach Strine and the coaching staff, what they're going to be working on this week, penalties, okay? Last week we talked about the problem in Shakota was ball security. We came out, we only had 1 turnover in Spyro, so we worked on our ball security. Whatever the coaching staff did, whatever they said, it worked. Now I know that the penalties are going to be another issue. To give up 61 yards, that's got to be, the defensive line coaches, the offensive line coaches, everybody's going to be looking at that and thinking, what can we do differently? What can we do differently to not give up 61 yards? So, when you look at it, the end of the ball game, Roland 34, Spyro 28. There are a couple of footnotes down here in the summary. Roland's defense accounted for 5 turnovers against Spyro to complete a fourth quarter comeback, 30-28. 5 turnovers. I mean, it seemed like every time Spyro messed up with the football, there was a Ranger there to pick up the mess. I mean, there no doubt about it. Every time a bad pass went up in the air or there was a fumble, there was a Ranger there to pick it up. Now, the turning point in the game, Roland linebacker Jacob Cantrell returned a 73-yard Spyro fumble for a touchdown, the first of the Rangers' 16 unanswered fourth quarter points. Now, I don't know what happened with this for it to be a fumble. But something happened when that quarterback had that ball. The ball just seemed to go straight up in the air. It looked like a bad pass to me, or something happened. Somebody punched the ball out somewhere. But whatever happened, Jacob Cantrell, I told you guys he's got a nose for this ball. He sniffed it out, and he grabbed that football and went 73 yards for a touchdown, and that was beautiful. So the final stat down here at the bottom says the Rangers won the turnover battle +4 against Spiral. So 5 turnovers to 1. And that's how the Roland Rangers capitalized on Spyro. And Spyro is never a weak team. Spyro, it doesn't matter if they're building. It doesn't matter if they've got the same kids for a bunch of years in a row. Spyro is always a stout team. And, kind of we did talk about sometimes the referees are playing for them too. But, that's just one of those things you can't avoid. And, we just do what we can against them. So I guess the only thing to do now is to talk about what's coming up at the end of this week. We've got on Friday night, 7 p.m. sharp. That's when the kickoff goes down. this is what you don't want to miss. This is the Roland Ranger home opener. No doubt going to be a tough contest. We've got Tahlequah Sequoyah coming to town. This is going to be a big challenge. I was trying to look for more stats and information on Sequoyah, but I couldn't find as much as I needed to. I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. And that's okay, because we're going to put up our own stats against Sequoyah. And like I said, we've got a couple of radio stations coming out to broadcast this game. Myself, Dennis McCaslin, Inside Fort Smith, Oklahoma Sports, we're going to be broadcasting the game. So you're going to have a lot of access to it if you can't make it out. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be able to make it to this game that were not able to make it to road games, and that's what we're looking for. So this Friday, 7 p.m., Ranger Stadium, that is the time and the place. Tahlequah Sequoyah, Roland Rangers. We're 1-1. They're 1-0. And so we're going to try to move to 2-1. We're going to try to climb up a winning record here. We're going to try to stick a loss on Sequoiah's record, and it's going to take a lot of work. But no doubt, guys, we've seen it. We've seen the hard work that's been put in with Coach Strine and the coaching staff. We've seen all the work that they've done. And I know they're going to capitalize on the things that they need to, like we talked about with the penalty yards. So now, if we can carry that ball security that we brought into week 2, if we can carry that into week 3, we can keep that as one of those things we can stick in our back pocket, and then we can add the work for the penalties. If we can add that to it, no doubt we're going to come away with a win. So now the only thing left to do before we cut everybody loose for the day, what are we, about 20? I think we're about 26 and a half minutes into this bad boy. We got to talk about some things with Roland Youth League football. Somebody did ask me, they said, hey, Clint, are you going to do 2 different shows for high school football and youth league? And at first I thought that'd probably be a good idea, but I don't want to waste everybody's time with an extra podcast. I want to do just cover all the information, because, look, think about it like this. Here in a few years, we've got some 6th graders that are going to be going to junior high next year. And then in about 3 more years, we're going to see these kids with the high school. So my goal is to keep everybody's interest focused in one place, and that is just Roland football. It doesn't matter if it's youth league, junior high, or high school. We're going to be seeing these kids. They're going to be playing for us for a long time to come. So what we want to do is we want to go into, what is this, week 2 for the Youth League Rangers. A nice little piece written up on the Roland Youth League football page on Facebook. If you can type in your search bar Roland Youth League football, go ahead and like that page. It says, we came, we saw, we dominated. The Roland Youth League 1st and 2nd grade and 5th and 6th grade Rangers whipped up a big batch of goose eggs for breakfast in Gore. The 1st and 2nd grade won their game 33-0. Unfortunately, the 3rd and 4th grade in Gore did not have a team, so our 3rd and 4th grade got a forfeit. So we've got a win there. And now the 5th and 6th grade Rangers, they were powered by touchdowns from Keywan Youngblood, Parker Pratt, Cole Stevens, and Ashton Peters ×2. They won their game 35-0. Also noteworthy here, Cole Stevens booted a 50-yard kickoff straight to the Gore end zone. Michael Taylor recovered 4 fumbles. Michael Taylor's a beast. I don't know if you guys have seen this kid on the football field. He recovered 4 fumbles. So here we talk about in the high school, we talk about Jacob Cantrell having a nose for the football, and then we turn around and we see Michael Taylor on the 5th and 6th grade team recovering 4 fumbles. And I'll tell you something, Coach Strine's got his eyes on these kids. I've seen him out there on week 1 for the youth league. Coach Strine was obviously out there watching his son play ball, and he was keeping an eye on these kids. So he knows what's coming up through the ranks, and he knows what to get ready for. So next week, I need to go down here. I need to find the schedule, but we'll update everybody on the Facebook page. The Roland Youth League Football Facebook page will let everybody know where the games are, what time they need to be there. I think league pictures, this is some news here, league pictures for Roland Youth League Football are going to be on Sunday, September 10th. Now, that's my birthday, so I don't think I'm going to be there. I've got plans. That's going to be at 2 p.m. So for all you parents and kids listening, and there are going to be a lot of you guys, we're averaging between 600 and 700 people a week who listen to the Ranger Football Podcast. And I've done screenshots. I've put our number of listeners for each episode up on Facebook. It's crazy. I thought maybe 200 people max. Between 600 and 700 people a week are listening to this. So I know you're getting this information. League pictures are this Sunday, September 10th, 2 p.m. Please be dressed in full uniforms. This came from our league director, Anthony DeWitt. He said, I will have order forms to hand out later this week. We will be taking the pictures on the game field. So do not go to the practice field up by the old baseball field where I used to shed a lot of blood. Don't go up to the practice field up there. Go to the game field this Sunday at 2 p.m. That's where the league pictures are. Also, about 11 hours ago, no, I guess that's been more than that now. This came out yesterday sometime. Notes for homecoming will be going out this week. Our homecoming fundraiser is how Roland Youth League football gives back to the school for the use of the facilities. All money raised will be donated to the Roland Quarterback Club. Everybody hear that? Last year's total was $6,000. So we're hoping to raise a whole lot more money than we did last year. We're hoping to give more than $6,000 back. Every cheerleader and football player will be required to sell 20 tickets at $2 a piece. Okay, so gear up for that. Turn your kids into salespeople. Our big raffle item this year will be the awesome Yeti 65 cooler, valued at $400. We'll also have several area gift cards, movies, haircuts, restaurants, things like that. And it goes further to say thank you all in advance for your continued support of Roland Youth League football. And we couldn't mean that more. Everyone involved, I know our cheer coordinator, Tanya Price, our league director, Anthony DeWitt, even me sitting up in the press box, calling the plays, playing the music. We want to thank the parents and everyone who's involved here, and the donors, the sponsors, the donors for the raffle items, for the fundraiser. Everybody just kind of joins hands and goes in on this, and they do a great job at it. So, we really appreciate the effort that everybody's putting into it. So that's the news that we've got there. We've covered Roland High School football. We've got our home opener this week. We'll have more news and information on the Roland Youth League football Facebook page on what's going down there. Let's hit our sponsors one more time. Remember, folks, you can listen to the Ranger Football Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Stitcher Radio, and iHeartRadio. All you have to do is just type in Ranger Football Podcast. Also, if you're on Facebook, in your search bar, type in Ranger Podcast Network. I believe we're already working on a basketball podcast for high school. So our running Rangers and our Lady Rangers, we're going to try to push this broadcasting thing that we're doing with these football games. We're going to try to push that into basketball season. And but I will continue the podcast here on the Ranger Podcast Network. I will turn it instead of the Ranger Football Podcast. We're going to roll right into the Ranger Basketball Podcast. So type in Ranger Podcast Network on Facebook. Go like the page. That's the official Facebook page of this show. The Ranger Football Podcast app on Google Play, once again, is sponsored by Southern Trading and Pawn, located at 4621 Towson Avenue in Fort Smith. Stop by and see Vernon and the crew for all your trading and pawn needs. If you have questions, call 479-434-4830. The Ranger Football Podcast app on iTunes on your Apple App Store is sponsored by The Slab in Roland, located at 104 South Roland Road. The Slab is your home for the best barbecue in the River Valley. They're open 7 days a week, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Sunday. Also, the Slab trailer is open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Friday. That means it's going to be open tomorrow. And catering is available by request. For questions or to place your orders today, call 918-503-6531. The Ranger Football Podcast is also brought to you by Mantees Casual Wear, focused on the adolescent male of all ages, and by Mayrays for casual wear with a more feminine touch. That one's for the ladies. Custom orders are welcome. You can follow either line on Facebook or simply go to man-tees.com. Use the promo code Rangers, excuse me, for 20% off all your orders. And last but not least, the Center Street Parlor, located at 1731 West Center Street in Greenwood, Arkansas. They are open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to whenever they finish. For more information or to schedule an appointment for your next tattoo, call Fernie and Isaac or you don't have to call both of them. Call one of them. Fernie is my friend. He's a former student of mine. Call 479-252-6274. And just a reminder, we are going to be broadcasting this game, this high school game with Tahlequah Sequoyah, the Rolling Ranger home opener, on InsideFortSmith.com and Arklahoma Sports. Myself and Dennis McCaslin, we will be broadcasting that game. So there will be links up on the Inside Fort Smith Facebook page. They will also be on the Ranger Podcast Network Facebook page. You will be able to find a link to the game. Just make sure you bring your earbuds with you, plug them into your smartphones. Bring up your Facebook app when you're up in the bleachers there, up in the stands, whichever side you may be on. And you can listen to the game. You can listen to the broadcast. So that's always fun and exciting. We're pushing about the 40-minute mark, I think. I think we're right past 36 minutes. So we're going to vamoose for the day. I don't have any other further information to cover. I think we've just about got everything situated with everybody here. We covered a decent amount of information. We talked about the big win for the Youth League in Gore. We talked about the huge win for the high school in Spiro, but we're gearing up for the Rolling Ranger home opener this Friday night, 7 p.m. That's when it all goes down. Get there early. Get your popcorn, your pops, your Powerades, and all that good stuff. And and your nachos. Nachos, don't forget nachos with jalapenos. Or jalapeno. So don't forget about that stuff. And we'll see you at Ranger Stadium, 7 p.m. kickoff. It's all going down this Friday night. So we appreciate everybody listening. And until next week, and we're going to have news about the Sequoyah game this coming Friday. We'll see you on the next episode of the Ranger Football Podcast.
You're listening to the Ranger Football Podcast, brought to you by Southern Trading and Pawn and the Slab in Roland.